Hello, everyone. I want to talk about how I was able to locate the man who raped me after a number of years, after 20 years. I was raped in 1990 while serving in the United States Army as a medical specialist. Back then it was 91 Alpha 10. Now it's changed, but that's what it was back then. And this is an individual who was in the same unit as myself, and it was my then fiance's best friend. I was raped. I did not tell because the military back then didn't really talk about sexual assault, military sexual trauma, harassment. They just didn't really, I don't think they really cared. And so it was about 10 years after my assault, I finally had the courage to tell someone. It was my then ex fiance's wife, because that was my oldest daughter's biological father. So I said to her, I said, "Do you remember so and so?" And she said, "Yes." And she said, "Oh, he served time in prison for raping a pregnant woman in 1991, which was a year after my assault." And I thought, "Oh my gosh." And I said to her, "Well, he raped me too." And she said, "Oh, and that was it." And so throughout the years following, I would ask her and then my daughter's biological father as well. I said, "Do you know where he's at? Do you know where I can find the affidavit from the crime he committed a year after mine?" I was trying to see if the rapes were similar, etc. And they would say no. Um, we 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 don't know where he's at, and we don't know how to get the court records, etc. So they claim that they weren't in touch with him. And so I said, "All right, whatever." And so when I finally decided to file my report after I came forward after 25 years, I filed with the Lakewood, Washington Police Department plus the Fort Lewis Police Department. And I said, the one person that knows about my assault is this woman that I had told 10 years after the rape had occurred. And so, lo and behold, I said, she can confirm my story. So they reached out to her, and her and I were obviously friends because now this is my oldest daughter's stepmother. My oldest daughter has a relationship with her biological father and his wife and their children, etc. And so she ends up messaging me on Facebook, and she says, "You ruined my relationship with so and so," which was the individual who raped me. She said, "I know he hurt you, but forgiveness goes a long way." And what she did was she used his pseudonym. He never, after the assaults that he probably served time in prison for, he went not by his original first name. He went by two initials. I will say something like TJ, etc. So she said, "You ruined my relationship with TJ Smith," which isn't this person's name. "Thanks a lot." And she blocked me. So through her telling me his pseudonym, I was able to locate him on Facebook. And when you are raped, molested, etc., and you don't report, and that person kind of just disappears out of your life and you don't see them anymore, their face becomes blurry. I remembered the shape, but the face, the fine details of his face were blurry. And so when I found him on Facebook, it was the first time I saw his face in 25 years, and I was frozen in time. And I thought, holy cow. And so anyways, I found him. I found out the city he lived, um, the American Legion post he belonged to because he's a veteran, because he got out of the military and did the second assault after he was out. So he didn't serve time in a military, he wasn't pursued in a military court. He was pursued in civilian. So I found out the American Legion post, where his wife worked. I found his son, who was an infant in the apartment where I was raped. He was sleeping in his room. So through that, I went on publicinfoservices.com, and I used his real name and his city, and I was able to locate all of his current and previous information, including the record from the rape in 1991. So I called Pierce County Records, and I said, "I'm looking to get the affidavit from the crime committed by so and so in 1981. And they said, yeah, for 50 cents a page or $1 a page, you can go on the website and we'll upload it for you. We'll release it to you. And I did, and I read it. And the rapes were very similar. We were both raped and sodomized. But he took it a step further with her. He had a knife. And he said, if you tell anyone, I'm going to kill you. Well, he couldn't do that with me because this was then my fiance's best friend. He didn't threaten to kill me. So the rape, how the rape occurred was similar. But then he went on to threaten her even further. And so due to the evidence she had, he did serve time. And so that's how I was able to locate him. And it had his current address, current phone numbers, etc. And so I was scared to death. And I said, I just want to talk with him to see if he will confess, if he will say he did it, if he say he's sorry. And the thing is since it was 20 years after the fact, it was past the statute of limitations, he's not going to get in trouble and he's not going to serve time for it. And so when I called him and he answered, I initially hung up because I was so scared. I was literally shaking. And so I thought, well, I'm going to put my phone on speaker, my current phone, and I had an old cell phone that I put on a video. I was going to record what the conversation was so I could see how it went and I could have it. And so here I am. I have my cell phone here and my other phone up here, up above me recording. And he said, hi, this is so-and-so. And I said, is this, and he used a pseudonym. And then I said, is this, and I addressed him by his first name. He said, yes. I said, my name is so-and-so. Do you remember me? And he said, no. And I said, do you remember HHC 9th Cav Brigade? And he said, yes. And I said, do you remember? And I mentioned my ex-fiance's name. And he said, yeah, so-and-so and I are friends. And I said, oh, well, this is getting good. And I said, well, I was engaged to so-and-so. He said, no, so-and-so is married to, and he mentioned my daughter's stepmother's name. And I said, no, it was prior to that. And what the acknowledgement of who I was. He hung up the phone. And I thought, oh. And I said, I'll wait. And then I called back. He didn't answer. And I said, I know it's a shock. I know you're probably taken aback, but I just want to talk. I just want to have a conversation with you. And he wouldn't answer. I said, I'll give you a couple of minutes to gather yourself, then I'll call back so we can have a conversation. And I called back a number of times. Here I am, I'm just trying to get answers. And he would not pick up the phone. So I thought, well, he wouldn't answer. He wouldn't call me. He wouldn't do anything. There was radio silence. So I did take steps after that. I knew that he was not going to come forward. I knew he was not going to confess. And so I on publicinfoservices.com, it shows current family members, etc. And I decided to reach out to just write him a letter and reach out and write his wife a letter as well. And I sent the letter to her work. I'm addressed to her work in care of, I know, but in care of her name. I just said, is this the person you're living with? I'm not sure if you're aware of, but, and then I did reach out to his son, who was an infant, a baby. He was under 1, who was in the apartment asleep in his bed when the rape took place. So I wrote him a letter and I said, I'm just letting you know that even if your father has committed these crimes, it does not reflect on who you are, just to let you know. And I have always wanted to see you again. You were a precious baby when I was in the military. I really loved when I was engaged to so-and-so, and we would hang out with your dad and your mom. I just loved spending time with you because I miss my family so much, and I'm so sorry about all of this. And so those are the steps I took. And after that, it ended up being a shit show. But that's how I was able to locate the man who raped me. I'll tell you, I don't want to cry. but um, that was one of the absolute scariest moments of my life. So, anyways, that's what I'm gonna wrap up now, and hopefully, this is how you can find your person too, if this is what you're looking to do. So, anyways, I'll be back.